Welcome into the inaugural episode of the Hoops Boys podcast, co-hosted by my main man, James the Jet, and yours truly, America's favorite bitch-ass white boy, C-Proc.
C-Proc.
And we are going to join you on a bi-weekly basis to review all the action around the Association. This is quite the season to get us started on the heels of a year that was very eventful for many, through health crises and social movements alike. Many of us feel pretty grateful to have gotten to this finish line, and we're ready to kick things off and talk a little hardcore and orange bouncy ball. Some of our usual suspects are not off to the starts we would like to see them at. Toronto Raptors, get a win, boys. Please. I don't know what you guys are doing. I know you're not allowed to play in your home arena, for reasons obvious, and that we will refrain from opining on, at least until we actually have some followers. But I know that's probably a very difficult situation for your team to go through, but you still got a lot of talent. You still got one of the better to best point guards in the league. You've still got Pascal Siakam, who is still one of the elite young talents in the league. So Spicy Peas. so get on the board, boys. Get a dub in that left hand column. Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks. You're getting back to the level we're accustomed to seeing you play at, but 500's not what we expect out of you guys. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, how about you guys stop taking so many bad shots? You're still putting up numbers. I acknowledge that. I respect that, but you guys need to show a little bit more leadership and really put have a more consistent effort, because we expect greatness out of you guys. In Giannis's case, you got the last 2 MVP awards. You're trying to get that Larry Bird trifecta. In Jason Tatum's case, you just made the All-NBA team. We expect even more out of that. We expect MVP contention. 500 is not going to do it. I know it's early. I know it's a short off season, but come on, get on the board. Get back to this level that we all want to see you guys compete at. And the last point of good teams getting to a high consistent playing basis is the Brooklyn Nets. Listen, it's not a secret. I'm a Knicks fan. We are both Knicks fans. But if you guys really want to take our mantle away from us, take our crown, and be the Kings of New York, you can't be resting your 2 big dogs 3 games into the season. Sorry.
And you can't beat the Brooklyn Nets.
Exactly. don't revert back to the New Jersey days. Come on now. Yeah. I know you guys gotta take it easy with these guys with your stars being high injury risks in the past, but one of your stars took an entire season off and the other one played a whopping 20 games last year. So resting your big dogs 3 games of the season, that's a little much. And of course, one last little dig. I don't know if it's a dig, but I guess it effectively plays out that way. The Lakers, you're the defending champs. You cannot get off to the season at 500. You've got way too much talent. Your front office invested a lot of money into improving your bench and your supporting cast. This on switch, off switch, Kansas City Chiefs mentality of we're not going to play till the playoffs start. Of course, granted, the Chiefs only have 1 loss of the entire season, but that's separate argument, separate sport entirely. Yeah. On switch, off switch mentality. That's you can't expect. We can't have that coming out of Los Angeles. LeBron, you are the face of the league. You are the biggest entity in basketball. Love him or hate him. You got to get up there, and you got to punch the boys in the mouth. and I will kick it off to my partner to let all you faithful cats and kittens know where to find us.
Hey, it's your co-host, Jet, second half of the Hoop Boys, and I just want to plug our social media. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, Hoops Boys Pod, at Hoops Boys Pod. Get us some followers, please. And get in on the conversation so we can start creating fan-driven content, polls, questionnaires, you name it, and just engage with you boys.
Our first segment of this new show is a little ditty we like to call Beyond the Arc. And there's a little bit of wordplay there for anyone not picking up what I'm putting down. Another way to describe this segment is 3 things we liked. So Jet, why don't you start us off from this first week and a half, and turn the conversation from my very negative monologue into putting some positive light on what we saw off the hardcourt.
All right, so 3 things that I liked. The Knicks are looking competitive. I mean, it's been a while. We have a 2-2 record, but our first win was against Giannis, the Greek Freak, and company, and they got blown out by a New York Knicks team, and R.J. Barrett looked really good. So for me, he's representing, and for me, like, that really surprised me. I didn't think that me and C-Proc both thought that we were going to get blown out by the Bucks, but
we were blowing that game off.
Right, we blew it off. We didn't watch it. I tuned in like close to halftime, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, we're punching them in the mouth.
The polls have reversed themselves.
Right. This could just be a continuance of all the bad things that have been happening in 2020, but it could be a light at the end of the tunnel because we're slowly approaching 2021. Not slowly, but the end of this week, and hopefully this is more of a sign of things to come than less of that. 2, Atlanta's group. This might be, besides the Knicks, this might be my favorite team to watch. They did really good for themselves in free agency by getting Bogey, Gallo, that's Danilo Gallinari for the people who don't know, and Rajon Rondo, and they're steadily improving young core and Cam Reddish, Deontay Hunter, Trae Young, etc. They look really good, and they're going to be a tough out every night for every opponent. And 3, all the undefeated teams are in the East. Who would have saw this coming? Nobody would have thought.
Mind blown.
We all know the Western Conference is the creme de la creme for the NBA, and you would think that the defending champions being in the Western Conference, that these teams would be undefeated opposed to the Eastern Conference teams, but the Orlando Magic are at the top of the NBA, and NBA's throne with they're 4-0, and they have the best record in the league.
It's the Disney magic.
Do you believe in magic?
Do you believe in magic?
So that concludes my 3 things that I liked. C-Proc, what you got?
You know, what I really like is the teams that we've gotten accustomed to seeing and also expecting to continue their less than stellar play of recent years. And they're playing extremely competitive. Their young players are developing. And I think the 2 most prominent cases of that, of course, at the time we're recording our inaugural episode, they both coming off a loss. Thank you, guys. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the Sacramento Kings. Actually, I should clarify. The Sacramento Kings did win last night. I was expecting them to lose last night because I am a perpetual pessimist. Blame being a Knicks fan. Thank you very much, James Dolan. But they're both 3-1 at the time we're doing this episode, and the things I see out of the Cavs, a lot more poise than one should expect out of a very young nucleus. And not a lot of veteran leadership on that team. You have Kevin Love, who is probably desperate to get out of Cleveland, and not getting the ball a lot. Playing a lot, but not getting the ball a lot. And JaVale McGee, who can do a lot of things on the floor, can provide a lot of energy, but let's be real, he's a role player. And he's not a starter. But outside of those two, there's really not a lot of veteran leadership on that team, and Darius Garland and Colin Sexton are looking like an elite backcourt. Like, they're looking like the next coming of that Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum type of double point guard guard play. And that's just, they're just doing things that should not be expected for a team of that youth level. And as far as the Kings are concerned, there's a little bit more success by diverse options. De'Aaron Fox is, we spoke about this off air before while we were getting ready for this show. De'Aaron Fox is looking like another Russie. Now, maybe not to Russie's ceiling quite yet, but he's looking very, very similar skills, very comparable ability to take over a game, and a lot less quote-unquote Russie moments of Russell Westbrook moments of losing his cool on the court and kind of going off the walls. This looks very in control over these first handful of games, and he's getting the ball. He's moving the ball around. He's getting the paint whenever he wants. His backcourt mate, Buddy Hield. I mean, people who follow this sport at the college level know Buddy Hield from his Oklahoma days. He was quite the star at that level, but he's really settled into more of a role player level as a pro, and he looks like he's accelerating from that level this year, and he's become very clutch, very good defensively. At least for their first few games, maybe he'll get proven wrong, but from what I've seen, he looks very active on defense so far. And Richaun Holmes, who I watched a couple of times now, and didn't have anything to think of him going into either game. But their starting center, Richaun Holmes, looks like a very good role player.
Yeah, he's not decent.
So that's wraps up my first point about teams that shouldn't be good, that are playing very competitively, and they're right at the top of the conference. Now it remains to be seen where they'll keep it up till we get to the end of this first half. March, whenever that's going to end, and then until the end of the rest of the season. But they're doing their thing right now. My second point is the Boston Celtics role players. Boston is in a bit of an odd situation right now with Kemba Walker missing a month and a half. That's a big offensive chunk taken out of their lineup. Gordon Hayward not being there at all. He's down in Charlotte. Yeah, the man, he was really
wasting
losing.
away. He was wasting away. He had no business being on the Celtics.
Yeah,
he could be doing way better somewhere else.
Right, exactly.
As he is on Charlotte.
As he is, yes. I mean, he's going to push that 25 point per game margin down there. Sharing 1A duties with Scary Terry.
Right.
But so, and it really just not fitting in, really not fitting into the role that he probably thought he was going to get going to Boston. But Jason Tatum he's been a little, like I've said before, Jason Tatum's being a little inconsistent, but he's still putting up points. And in those gaps where he's trying to figure out some way to be a LeBron type superstar or a Kobe type superstar, they've got guys. They've picked up Jeff Teague, who's had a couple big games in the early
really
going.
Good pickup for them. Really good.
Yes, deep threat from behind the arc. And Robert Williams III, who I just like Richaun Holmes in Sacramento. Someone was like, "Who is this kid?" And he's been very scrappy, embracing that defensive mentality and that Boston's really relied on under the Brad Stevens regime. And even someone like Jaylen Brown, who right now in Kemba's absence is really being asked to carry more of the burden. He's not bourbon.
I love bourbon.
Yeah, I do love bourbon. But he's being asked to carry more of the burden right now, and he's stepping up to that challenge and putting more buckets in the basket than he's otherwise used to.
I love Jaylen Brown.
Yeah,
He's like one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player on the Celtics.
And what if I'm not correct? If I'm not mistaken, I believe a couple of years ago when they were thinking they could get AD, you were like, "Bye, Jaylen Brown."
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, AD is like he's been one of the best players in the league since he's been in the league, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
since
like,
day one, jump.
Yeah. If Jalen has to go to get AD at that time, I'm doing it.
Right.
But Jalen being there, especially last season, well, in the bubble when they played against the Raptors, Spicy P was going crazy on them, and until they put Jaylen Brown on him, and he shut Spicy P down, and they won that series. If it wasn't for Jaylen Brown's defense, they would have got bumped in the first round.
Right. And
yeah,
very, very, very good segue to bring up his defense because he is an exceptional defender, and I think a lot of that gets forgotten on Boston because the best perimeter defender on the Celtics is probably my favorite role player in the league. That's Marcus Smart.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very small man by professional basketball standards, but he has the mentality of Pitbull, and he wants to run through people like a rhinoceros.
Mm-hmm.
I like metaphors. I'm very, very impressed with the play of their bench, and it's keeping them afloat as they're trying to get through this Kemba injury and Jason Tatum figuring out what kind of a superstar he wants to be in, and they keep them over the next few games. If they keep that up, they'll probably be back to the level we're accustomed to playing them at. And real quick, I won't spend too much time on my third point. It's just to double down on Jet's point about the Atlanta Hawks. Won't go too much into Trae Young because everybody knows he's phenomenal and it hit a jump shot from the other side of the building.
Ice Trae the gang.
But yes, and I like that actually. Ice Trae?
Yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one. But Rondo, I don't know if it's from his last year being with the Lakers and being more of a subservient role on that team, but he's really, it seems like he's really embraced this backup role on the Hawks and playing more of a mentor type of role to these younger guys. And I think the one that stood out the most to me early on as the young players on the Hawks are concerned is Cam Reddish.
I love Cam.
Cam Reddish had a very, very prominent Duke career, albeit a short one. And he's playing very well from the perimeter. He's getting to the basket. So I think there's some good things out of Cam Reddish. So we will wrap up this segment, and next up, a moment you've all been waiting for. Jet's gonna put some people on blast, and they might want to tune in and shake off some little bit of stankiness off of the way they've been playing. Stay tuned, boys and girls.
Stay tuned. Hey. Welcome back to the Hoops Boys Pod. It's your host with the most, Jet, and my boy C Proc. What you got for us, Proc? Oh,
we're gonna
swish.
Thanks, Jet. We're going to start off this segment with some hot takes. You may think we're crazy, but that's okay because, quite frankly, for stuff like this, we want you to think we're crazy.
Exactly.
My hot take for this season is, I know this man is absolutely desperate to get out of town. but I don't think the Beard himself, my facially follically gifted brother of a different melanin, I don't think he's leaving H-Town. I don't think the Beard's going anywhere. This is somebody that is a most valuable player. This is someone that is a multiple scoring champ in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the amount of players that would have to exchange hands and the amount of money that would have to traverse the transaction, say that 5 times fast, to make a deal of that type of magnitude work, it's just not very easy, and I don't see it as ultimately feasible. And considering the fact that they gave up the new, quote unquote new, because I know we didn't do it last year, but the new Mr. Triple Double, Russell Westbrook, they gave him up for a guy that you and I have both fawned over in the past, John Wall. But let's be honest, the man can't stay on the court. And he has yet to prove he can stay on the court. You gave up the walking triple-double himself for John Wall and brought in another guy, DeMarcus Boogie Cousins. Also,
Rest
who
in
has...
peace, Boogie.
Yes. Also, who has a lot of problems staying on the court. So, considering what you've given up and what you've brought in, I don't think Houston can justify to their fan base. And granted, I know they've changed over their management team, and so in theory, there's not a lot of loyalty to any players that are already there. But someone like James Harden, someone like Russell Westbrook, I think you could justify, because he is such a wild card and he's so off the wall. You have and he hadn't been there for very long. I think you can justify getting rid of him for quote unquote less than someone like James Harden, who's been there a longer time. He's really put blood, sweat, and tears on the court, and people hate on him for the playoffs, but you know what? There's a lot of superstars in the past that were a little lackadaisical on defense and have disappeared in the fourth quarters, and they didn't take nearly the amount of heat that James Harden has. So James Harden's done a lot for their franchise, and I don't think he's going anywhere unless they just get a massive package, or the season's over and they just start from scratch and they decide to cut baggage. But if they're gonna say, F it, let's just start over, I don't think that's something you do in the middle of the season. That's something you wait till the summer, and with a real off season, which in theory, hopefully, we'll actually have a real off season next year.
Real off season? What's that?
Yeah, what, a month and a half? What's the 5 weeks? Trophy to trophy.
Right.
Which, you know what? In the NBA, when there's a new trophy every year, it kind of sucks because you don't get to enjoy it. You don't get to enjoy the basking in the glow of the trophy. But at least it's a new trophy that you got every year. I can't imagine what a hockey player would feel like having an off season this short when there's only one trophy of all time, and normally you get 3 months to pass that thing around, and now you got like a month and a half.
Weeks.
Yeah. Hope you had fun with your 3 hours of Lord Stanley, boys.
Right.
But yeah, so hopefully the world's in a more of a stable position next summer. We have a real off season, and if they really want to move on from James Harden, they can't build around him, then they do it then. But that's just a deal like that is not something I really see as feasible in mid-season, or heck, at this point, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games into a season. I just don't see that as realistic.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm not sure of this, but I could look it up. How many years does James Harden have left on his contract?
You know what? I should have done some research. But you know what? It can't be more than like
2 years, right?
2 or 3 years. Oh, probably right contract. Huh? Yeah, it can't be more than like 2 or 3 years. He signed a 4-year extension. 4-year extension, 2020. 22-23. So this season ends in 21. He's got 2 more years, and then he's UFA. Do hella money, by the way. 41 million, 44 million, and 47 million.
Yeah.
But
it's tough because, like you said, I don't know if a team has the assets to trade to make up the money to get him, and then is there a team out there that has draft picks as assets?
yes, exactly.
And then if you do you want to give them up? Like, and
Right.
then who has it? The Thunder. They have all the draft picks, right?
Right, and what's the value of money to draft pick? Like if you can't make it work money wise and current contract wise, how many draft picks you have to give up? And is someone going to be willing? If it takes like 5 draft picks to make that to balance the scales, who's going to give up 5 draft picks
Right.
for a player that's already in their prime?
Yeah.
That's,
So I think, like you said, he's in a tough position. Like, I don't know. I know he wants out because it's like, yeah, I had Paul George. No, sorry. I had Russell Westbrook, and before that I had Chris Paul. And not for nothing, I feel like Chris Paul is the perfect person to play with James Harden. And
exactly. Yeah.
if he was
He's not
healthy,
going to do any of this.
yeah, he's not going to do any of that. When James Harden's soiree with between the legs 85 times and then the step back is not working, Chris Paul was the person that could manage the game and get everybody else involved.
Right.
Russie was a little bit different, right? Like, he's a stat hunter. He's not diming people per se. Yes, he's getting the assist stat, but it's not like how LeBron James dimes somebody or Chris Paul dimes somebody. Like, he's setting up the whole play from as soon as he comes up the court, he's setting up the play for that particular person. I don't think Russie does that.
No, Russie's facilitation is not. Russie's assists are not in a facilitation type of gameplay.
Right. And Russie is not the shooter that Chris Paul is. And I think that kind of showed. When they were playing
streaky.
5 out. Yeah, he's very streaky. They were playing 5 out in the playoffs. It didn't look good because Russie couldn't hit any shots. And them getting John Wall, which is a variant of Russell Westbrook that also can't shoot that well. And he's injury prone. I don't understand. I didn't get that. Like, I really didn't get it. But
It is shorter. He's not even as viable a defensive asset.
no, he's actually taller than Russell Westbrook.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Russie
He's
like 6'5"?
No,
Russie's
Russie's
like 6'5".
Russie's 6'3". Russie's 6'3".
John Wall's like 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
He's not very
No, John
tall.
Wall's like 6'4", 6'5". He's big. And he was a hell of a defender.
Yeah.
and
before
assistant,
his
too.
body betrayed him.
Yeah, before the basketball gods took his legs.
Yeah.
But I don't know, bro. It's pretty stinky over there. I don't know what they're gonna do.
That's that's a big steamy pile.
Yeah.
It's a big steamy pile. But shush, don't get to that quite yet. Don't get to the steaminess quite yet, because we got one more topic to talk about.
Yes, sir.
What's your what's your hot take, bold prediction, Jet?
I have 2. Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
All right. My first one.
We'll ping pong it back.
All right, cool. My first one is that the Knicks will make the playoffs. Yes, you heard it here first. We will be in the playoffs as 6-7 for 8th seed. I'm not gonna go as far as 5 because I feel like that's just like, wishful thinking.
Getting greedy?
Yeah, we're getting greedy there, but I really feel like we have the capability to make the playoffs.
Can't take the crown yet, Brooklyn.
Yeah,
You leave them family jewels right where they at.
Get out of here, Brooklyn. Nobody likes you. And my second one is the Hawks will be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. If they keep this early run up based on what they did the last year.
Yeah.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. I mean, and a lot of that I think is dependent on the big boys not getting back on track. But
Yeah.
I'm not right now. I'm not seeing the big boys wanting to progress, wanted to take it to that next level. So unless they change that, there's a big opening set up for the next level down, and Atlanta is right at the forefront of that next level down. No
The Raptors need.
no
Raptors need
disrespect to oh yeah, the Raptors are. Yeah.
They're a very good team. They have two very good players. No, they have more than two very good players. They have a good nucleus. I feel like they just need another goer. You know what I mean? Somebody that could go get some buckets for them.
I think the makeup of this team would be okay if Siakam was another year or maybe two, but definitely another year down the road already.
Yeah.
If he was like franchise level right now, this team would be okay.
Yeah.
And he's like right on the cusp of being franchise level, like what Kawhi was when he was there, what Kobe is, I'm sorry, R.I.P. What LeBron is, excuse me, what Giannis is, what Luka Doncic is. Siakam is right on the cusp of that, but he's not quite there yet.
But yeah, I feel like the Hawks definitely have all the tools to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Absolutely. No disrespect to the 4-0 Orlando Magic. We see you.
Right,
we're keeping an eye on you, but
yeah, you're going to be the other team in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Can you imagine an all Southern and all South Eastern Conference Finals? When was the last time that happened? When was the last time that happened? 92?
Wait.
Don't quote me on that, fans. I'm thinking like when the Miami Heat and Charlotte Hornets, OG Charlotte Hornets, when they were both very good. So don't quote me on that. Obviously, it wasn't 92 because the Chicago Bulls made it to the NBA Finals that year. But I'm thinking like it had to have, like the last time that happened had to have been in that era at some point. Orlando Magic.
Orlando and Atlanta had some really good playoff battles like in the early 2000s when Dwight was on the Magic and Atlanta had that team with
the starting five of
Jeff T.
Good but not greats.
Yeah. Josh. What was his name?
Josh, I can't hit a jump shot Smith.
Josh, I can't hit a jump shot Smith.
I can do everything else on the floor, but don't ask me to shoot.
ISO Joe, Al Horford. That team was good.
Yeah. I feel so bad for Al Horford. What a pro that guy was. What a pro that guy was.
They sent him to hell.
It's in Oklahoma City, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is hell.
Yeah, they sent him there. I can't believe they tried to send. That's the Night's Watch, right?
Yes. Yes. That's the wall. That's on the other side of the wall. They sent him past the wall.
Right.
He better hope there's some egrets over there because there ain't nothing else for him to go after.
I feel bad. I feel really bad for everybody that's over there. Shai Gilgeous, I love him. I wish he was somewhere else, but you know what?
Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, right? Kentucky. You went to Kentucky.
Yes. Yeah, that kid is he's going places.
Shai Gilgeous.
Yeah, he's going places.
So, boys and girls, hoops heads alike. This is the moment you've been waiting for. The next segment is where we put Stinky Stink in Stank. And we call out some very horrendous performances that need to be put on notice before teams start taking the floor again. And that is the bi-weekly Stank Report. Jet, take it away.
Hello, kids, mammals, cats, dogs. This segment is what we the Hoop Boys like to call the Stank Report. This will highlight the lowlights of the NBA's stankiest performers. You will see these smelly individuals shacked in the full in their natural habitat, which is the hardwood floor. From over dribbling and hoisting up contested threes left and right, to shooting a fadeaway jump shot and holding your form as if it's cash, and it slaps off the side of the backboard in pandemic P fashion. Welcome to the Stank Report. All right.
Airball.
This first award is given to the person whose performance reeked so badly that they deserve a new alias. I mean, I see basketball as an art form, so this award will be called the artist formerly known as. All right, let's get into this. uh, do you have any guesses who this might be, Chase?
I'm thinking somebody in that NorCal region on that the team we're so accustomed to seeing winning championships. Maybe.
All right. Let me see. Get some stats up here for your boy.
We got some background research. Because we can't just throw somebody in the compost pile without illustrating just how composty they are. Composty.
Composty. Straight fertilizer. Okay, here we go.
Captain Manure.
All right. Captain Manure is great. All right.
Don't let me name him. You have a great name already picked out.
All right, cool. This award winner plays for a team who went to the luxury tax to acquire him. He shot 35% from the arc last season.
That means expensive stank.
And yeah, the most expensive stank. The Musk.
Musk. You ain't driving no Tesla.
He shot 35% from downtown last season, which you think would translate well to a team that prioritizes floor spacing and getting open shots for both their wings and guards. But in this guy's case, he managed to stink up the whole Oracle Arena on his own by missing every three-point shot he took in his first 3 games. 0 for 17 to be exact. And who is the creator of this foul odor, you might ask? Smelly Doubre, the artist formerly known as Kelly Oubre. He has been the stinkiest person in the NBA thus far. And I like this guy. I think he'll be a good fit on the Warriors. It just hasn't worked out yet. How do you feel about Smelly Doubre?
And it's, you know what? And it doesn't, it adds an extra little rub to that. The fact that he's replacing not only one of the best 3-point shooters in his era, as well as into that realm of all time, but also one of the best perimeter defenders in his era, Klay Thompson. For those not following my drift, it does not help that he's trying to fill those shoes, because you can stank up a lot if you're just filling him for. I know I just sang his praises in the A block, but if you're trying to fill in Buddy Hield's shoes, Buddy Hield's a lot better than Smelly Oubre playing.
Yes.
But there's not some ceiling level all NBA shoes that you have to fill. But when you're trying to fill in for Klay Thompson and you're stanking that bad,
yeah,
you get new nicknames. You get thrown. You were to throw under the bus. You get thrown. Yeah, Captain Manure. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Kelly. Like you said, he's trying to fill in the shoes of one of the Splash Brothers, and he's not related to them. You know what I mean? Clearly.
He was the bastard. He was the bastardized child they picked up behind the 7-Eleven.
Exactly, and I mean, I want him to do well, but he definitely played himself into a nickname, and I hope he plays himself out of it.
please play it, because if you're gonna be on the stank report for more than 3 episodes, then like, what are you doing? Just get cut.
Yeah, just get cut.
Luxury.
Put on a suit and become a commentator. It's over.
Yeah, really. For college, because Lord knows you don't know what the NBA is supposed to be like.
Yeah, right.
At least kind of cover up your weaknesses. That's not to say the college analysts are bad. They're very good, but
yeah. I like I said, I think Smelly will turn it around, but for now he will be known as Smelly Doubre until further notice.
Smelly.
And the second entry on our stink report, this award is given out to individuals who like to break records. And being that this is the Stink Report, these are the type of records you don't want next to your name. um, these guys were down. These guys were down bad. I mean, real bad. Like 57 points bad at one point before the game ended, and they lost with one of the biggest deficits in NBA history, and also the biggest deficit in their franchise history. Granted, they were without one of their best players, but it's no excuse to only score 20-something points and a half. I mean, you are in the NBA, aren't you?
And you're not the Chicago Bulls.
And you're not the Chicago Bulls. I didn't understand this. I was flabbergasted when I saw the score at half. It looked like a college football game.
Looked like the Ohio State, University of Ohio annual flambeing.
It was terrible. It was a flogging on national television, and
that's right. It was on national television, actually.
The winner of this award, which is called the Hall of Shame Award, is the Los Angeles Clippers.
Angeles, which, by the way, they're not very angelic after that.
No, they're jealous. They're lost. They're lost and jealous.
They're lost and jealous. The Lost and Jealous Clippers. The Lost and Jealous Clippers.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Hall of Shame Award, and I don't know how you redeem yourself after this. You got to blow out like 4 teams by 50.
You gotta blow out every opponent in the month of January. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah. Like, and then the kicker for me, the most funniest part for me is when Pandemic P uttered out his mouth, "Oh, we had too much fun on Christmas Day. That's why we lost like this."
Oh, when he said, "Oh yeah, losing by that much, that's not that bad." Excuse me? Are you not a professional?
I mean, every time it seems like he opens his mouth, he just like hurts himself.
There's something going on up here. I don't know whether that's going back to his leg blowing in 8 different places, but there's something going on up there. And I think it was the Christmas Day game. Somebody was singing like, "Oh yeah, Paul George, he needs to get back to he needs to get back to the level he's playing where he's a top 10 NBA player." I'm like, top 10? I don't know if I could justify him being top 15 right now. That's before this historic blowout. Yeah. I can't justify him being top 10.
I mean, he has really good stretches of when he's playing really great basketball. He can do everything on the court, right? Like he can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass.
He's an amazing defender.
Yeah, like he can do everything on the court. I just don't know. I feel like sometimes he falls in love with his jump shot. Like he doesn't go to the rim as often. And I feel like that hurts him more than it helps him. He needs to like figure out a balance to when to attack and when to shoot.
And the man has no killer instinct.
That too, yeah.
He has no killer instinct. You think he would have learned that from Rusty? Because Russell Westbrook, all his faults aside, he meant for the jugular every night.
Yeah. He's definitely. I mean, I don't think there's any player on the NBA floor that acts like gets meaningful minutes that goes into a game. Like, I just want to lose this game. Like, nobody goes into the game like that. But yeah, there's some people more capable of winning a game, like LeBron James or whoever you may name, like Dame Lillard, anybody. You know what I'm saying? They're more capable of winning the game on their own. But I don't know. Pandemic P can definitely be a top 5 player. He has all the capabilities in the world. I just think mentally, he needs to get out of his own way.
Yeah. I just can't. And that was a national game on Christmas. That wasn't like a local guy selling his team up. That was a national game. I'm like, who is saying that? I cannot justify that description of him at all.
And although Kawhi wasn't there because he took an inverted elbow from Serge Ibaka the night before, that laid him out. I mean,
Serge.
Serge's elbows must be made out of antimonium the way that it folded Kawhi Leonard. But
they probably are.
Yeah.
They probably are. That's a scary man.
That team is still good enough for you to score more than 20 points and a half without Kawhi Leonard on it. I don't care what anybody says. And Dallas's defense isn't
Dallas haven't played
That
defense.
good, like-
no, they haven't played defense in 20
Yeah.
years, if that.
Like-
Maybe even more. Maybe the history of the franchise. When has that team ever played defense?
Right. So I'm just like, I was hella confused by it. It could be an anomaly, but it still happened, and it shouldn't have happened.
No.
It was
Like I
stank.
said, we'll give you a pass. We'll give you a pass if you're the Chicago Bulls or who else is who else in the basement so far this year? Well, the Raptors, but they shouldn't be. Yeah,
Who's the worst team in the NBA?
It's probably let's look right now. It's probably it's probably them.
The Thunder?
Well, the Wizards are 0-4. That's
Oh, the Wizards.
that's half justifiable. That's half justifiable.
They shouldn't be 0-4.
They've got too much talent to be 0-4, but that's their talent's very top heavy. The Detroit Pistons, that might be the worst team in the NBA. That team is atrocious. And oddly enough, they are leaps and bounds better without Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin. Get them out of town. That is horrible. Just play with these young kids, all these role players that you sold out at the draft to get, and bring. I understand it. Bring in a crap ton of talent. See what happens. Trying to make something work. And just play. You're not just accept the fact that you're not going to be very good because you're just throwing in. You're just throwing guys. You're just asking guys to drop 25 that don't drop 25.
Right.
But if you try to do that and then try to make it work with over the hill veterans like Blake Griffin, who has no interest in playing power forward, no interest in playing a power inside position, and Derrick Rose, who God bless him. God bless his soul for still being on the court. I don't know how he's even on the court, but he's well past his MVP level. He's well past all NBA level. Derrick Rose is not going to take anybody to the playoffs. I'm sorry, he's not. Get rid of them and just commit to playing with these young kids and role players, because at least the young guys are getting experience, and you'll get a high draft pick because you're not going to win in a game. You're not going to beat anybody of at least of significant note. But Detroit might be the worst team in the league right now.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What was Jeremy Grant thinking when he signed that contract to go to Detroit? After that playoffs that you had, right? He had a really good playoffs with Denver. What compelled you to be like, oh yeah, I want to go over there?
Jeremy Grant's thinking, I'm trying to think.
I could take 25 shots a game.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. What's a good analogy for who he was trying to be like? Perimeter oriented, not like. He certainly. I don't know. Maybe he did think he was going to be like Dirk. I don't know. He's the way he's shacking up shots. Maybe he did think he was going to be like Dirk. I was going to say Chris Webber, but Chris Webber didn't shoot from outside that much.
Yeah.
I mean, he thought I think he thought he was going to be like one of those guys, or I don't know, maybe Charles Barkley, who had a little bit of leeway to shoot a little bit, but I don't know. Charles Barkley didn't really.
He went because he had the green light. Like, no, he could shoot any shot he wants over there and not be penalized for it. Like, but still, like,
yeah.
Why put yourself in? You have a choice.
Right.
You're in free agency. Why put yourself in that predicament? Like,
you could have figured out any number of contenders.
He could have went to the Lakers.
I mean,
they had money.
He could have gone to Lakers. Lakers did sign a lot of. They did sign Trez. They did sign
Marcus Gasol,
Dennis Schroeder,
Wesley Matthews. You could have took that money.
So I mean, maybe. I mean, all four of those players I would take over Jeremy Grant. So, I mean, maybe the Lakers just didn't have any interest. But, I mean, he could have... You're telling me he can't go to Orlando and still get a decent amount of shots? You're telling me he couldn't have found a way to go to Atlanta? I can't imagine they're paying anybody that much money down there. Yeah. It's good. They're still playing as well as they are. I can't imagine they're maxed out on anybody. You couldn't have found a way to go to Indiana. You couldn't have found a way to go to Brooklyn? My goodness. Right. Brooklyn, they just sat their two best players and lost to the Hornets. You telling me there wasn't enough money to pay someone like Jeremy Grant? Maybe there wasn't. I don't know. They're paying Durant and Kyrie enough money. Maybe there wasn't enough to go around.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, there certainly probably wasn't enough money for him to go to Boston. Milwaukee had a similar strategy as the Lakers did. They spent a lot of money on proven role players, so that was probably not an option. But I mean, you could have gone to Charlotte. I'm sure they could have needed help. Same thing as Orlando. You could have found. I mean, who's taking shots on Charlotte besides Hayward? Scary Terry.
Yeah.
I mean, like you couldn't have gotten shots there. Portland probably not. There's probably not enough money to go around there. You're probably not going to Phoenix because they got a lot of young guys. They probably had some money. They probably had enough money, but
they had money. Yeah.
I mean, they also need a lot. They also need money to make sure they keep Ayton and Booker long term. So that they probably don't want to commit. Yeah.
I mean, they got Chris Paul and they got what's dude with the dreads that was on the Heat last year, but now he's on the Suns. Crawford. What's his name?
Crowder. Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder. Yeah. They got Crowder. He played very, very well last night too, by the way.
That would be the perfect comparison. Like your agent couldn't have swung a deal with Phoenix. They signed Jay Crowder. You're basically the same player.
Yeah, the same player, but younger. Like
yeah. Maybe Jay Crowder's jump shot's a little more reliable as present circumstances have dictated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, but yeah, we kind of went off on a tangent, but yeah, that's
we did go off a little bit. But that's okay.
That's the stink report. I mean,
we don't have an air schedule to keep though.
Right.
But we will toss it. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. One more time, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Same handle, Hoops Boys Pod. HOOPSBOYSPOD. Twitter and Instagram, same handle. Give us some follows. Give us some likes once we start putting out content on those platforms, and start a conversation.
Show some love.
Start a conversation. Maybe you can call us out and we'll answer some questions and answer some of your hate too, because I'm sure you're going to have a lot.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Give us a quick break. Jet's going to take a shot at tequila.
BRB. Hey, welcome back to the Hoop Boys podcast. It's your host with the most, Jet, accompanied by my main bro, C Proc. And I'm going to toss it off to C Proc to give us some of his individual and season predictions. So what you think? What you thinking, bro?
I think I want to focus on most improved player. And what I've seen so far is touching back on one of my 3-pointers from our A block. Mm-hmm. Is I think that the backcourt for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, are going to be very high contenders for this award. Now, the problem with that is, of course, they're on the same team, so that always opens up the door for players taking votes away from each other. Mm-hmm. With that being said, it would be foolish of me to actually say they're the favorites, because if they're both playing like the way they are, based on what they've previously done, neither one of them's going to win, because they're just taking votes away from each other. But I will say, in the event that neither of them do win, I think my favorites are one of 2 players. I think one is Michael Porter Jr. from the Denver Nuggets. Mm-hmm. I think this is a guy that is very akin to the wingmen of old that we're used to watching. Almost, certainly too early to put him in Kobe or Jordan status, but someone like a big-bodied wingman of the past. Someone like, I could see Michael Finley being an okay comparison. I could see someone like Josh Smith, if Josh Smith could shoot. Someone who's got a good, well-built professional body, and they've got perimeter skills to boot. They're not just a string bean running around out there jacking up shots. So I think
a la Carmelo Anthony.
You know what? Thank you. Maybe I forget about him because he comes off the bench now, but
yeah,
which I think is actually a good move for him. but
I
that's
think
separate.
so too. Yeah.
That's a separate discussion. But yes, Carmelo is a good comparison. Big bodied wing perimeter forward. I think
that can shoot it. Yeah.
that could shoot. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be front and center for most improved player.
Yes.
And I think the dark horse candidate behind him would be Domantas Sabonis from the Indiana Pacers. He's someone that he's a big man, but he's kind of a stretch four. He's had and been close to triple doubles this year already. Sometimes he gives a little Nikola Jokic vibe. Sometimes he gives a little Dirk Nowitzki vibe. So I think Sabonis could be another dark horse candidate for that. So I think between the four of them, outside of someone just coming completely out of nowhere a few weeks into the season, I think between the four of them, that's going to be the chunk of the votes as I can see it right now. What about you, Jet? You got a prediction for the people, for the faithful listeners and viewers?
I do. Before I go into my predictions, I do want to ask you a question about the Pacers and their team makeup. To you, who is the best player on that Pacers team? Is it Sabonis or is it Oladipo? Or do you have somebody else in mind?
I think right this second, the alpha dog remains to be Vic.
Okay.
That being said, by the end of the year, I would not be surprised whatsoever if the answer across the board is Sabonis. Yeah.
Sabonis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree. Because
it's
I was having a
that
conversation
direction
with one of my buddies, and he was telling me like he looks to Sabonis to be the best player, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, Sabonis is a really legit player. He's really good, but I felt like he was only saying that because Vic didn't play that much last year, and we got to see a lot of Sabonis,
Yeah.
and a lot of T.J. Warren. You know what I mean? And you kind of forget like how good Vic is, and I hope that he gets back to that level.
I do too, because he's a doesn't have a big head on his shoulders. He's a fun superstar to watch because he kind of shakes off that believe the hype thing and just goes out and works.
Yeah.
So I like Vic, and I would, and given the fact that he did go to IU, the fact and him being back in Indiana
Is
the last couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
I will say that having watched a couple Pacers games so far this year, the Holiday boys off the bench are going to be very good role players for them.
Everybody speaks about the Ball Boys, right?
Yeah,
They never speak about the Holiday Boys.
yeah. And I don't even know if they're related. If it's just some random thing.
No,
But-
they're brothers.
They
That's
are.
Drew Holiday's little brothers, both of them.
Wow, that's like a one big happy league family.
And they're all pretty good. Like it's not like how the other like the Ball brothers are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where you've got this like breakdown of high level second star to I don't know what this kid is to I can't get drafted.
I was almost on the team and now I'm not.
Yeah, Fina.
But yeah, okay. So my predictions are gonna be more along the lines of defense. So I'm gonna predict the defensive player of the year for this season. My first candidate is gonna be the reigning defensive player of the year, Giannis. I feel like the Greek Freak is exactly what his name implies. He's a freak. 7 feet tall with an infinite motor, jump out the gym, passing IQ that is high, and he just keeps coming, you know what I'm saying? And he rebounds the ball really well, and he plays really good on-ball defense. So I really think he's like a sure win to win the Defensive Player of the Year again, unless my second pick, Anthony Davis, has something to say about it. I feel like he should have been winning this award. I feel like there were some years, like the year Marcus Gasol won it, I feel like Anthony Davis should have got it, or LeBron should have got it.
Yeah, Marc Gasol wasn't even on the first team.
Yeah, I really didn't understand that, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? I think that one of them two will be definitely a show win to get it. And then up here I also have Kawhi. Well, I think he's he won't get it is because he loves to load manage, and if you're not available, you're not gonna get votes from someone who played more games than you. You know what I'm saying? Defending
Right.
all those games. So I think that's why he won't get it. And my dark horse pick is Marcus Smart. I know you love Marcus Smart. I love Marcus Smart.
I'm so glad you brought him up.
Yeah, his defense this season against Giannis, he had that boy in foul trouble for the whole game because he just kept cutting off his space and getting charges almost every time on Giannis.
And Giannis is twice the size of him.
Twice the size of him. Giannis is a 7 foot, 280 pound person, and here's Marcus Smart, 6'3", 6'4". He has some weight on him. Don't get me wrong.
Also 250 pounds.
He's also
I was gonna
250
say,
pounds. But not only that, like his defense in the past couple of years has been tremendous. I mean, he's guarded everyone from guys his size to Kristaps Porzingis, and stopped him from doing what he wants to do. So I feel like he has all the ability to win it. Will he get it? I don't know. He comes off the bench. He doesn't start. There's a lot of things that goes into the factor of it. But if you're talking about pure defense, he's like all the way up there for me.
He's a must-have play. Just purely on that, he's a must-have player on anyone's team. No one turns him away. No one could turn him away.
Yeah, you can plug and play him anywhere. And I was kind of confused because when he did enter free agency, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before last. There wasn't a lot of suitors for him, and I didn't understand that. I'm like, why wouldn't you want this guy? I don't know what his accent price was. Maybe it was too high, but I mean, he took a pretty decent deal from the Celtics to come back. But I feel like he could have got more money from anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
If he hits the market, he most certainly won't get shortchanged.
Oh no.
No one's sleeping on that man now.
Yeah, and I've seen worse players get way more money than what he's gotten, and I feel like that's a travesty in the league. But I mean,
worst players mostly from the New York Knicks.
Yes, but there goes. We love Marcus Smart. That's our love for Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my top defensive player of the year candidates right now in the beginning of the season.
And what makes me shy more towards him as opposed to your other headliners is that those other players are stars, and I feel like in the past, stars wind up being in the conversation for so much more prestigious awards. A lot of times, these players like Defensive Player of the Year, certainly Sixth Man of the Year, they tend to go to that second and third level player, that second and third tier player, not as far as skill level, but as far as hierarchy on a roster, just because those guys aren't going to be on an All-NBA team. Giannis is going to be an All-NBA fixture for the rest of his career, before his legs give out eventually. Kawhi Leonard's going to be an All-NBA fixture for many more years. So guys like Marcus Smart, they're players like the Defensive Player of the Year. That's kind of their MVP because they're not. They're not going to get an MVP.
Yeah, and Marcus Smart, players like him are specialized players. You know what I'm saying? So
yes. Yep.
I feel like they should be in the front run for these awards, but like you said, the stars they're more amped to get it than players that actually not players that actually deserve it, because I'm not going to say Giannis didn't deserve that award last year, but
yeah, and stars because when Kevin Garnett won it, I mean, you could have given Kevin Garnett the Defensive Player of the Year every single season.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah,
Kevin Garnett locks down five positions on the floor.
Yeah.
So stars, I feel like you give them that own award like that once. That's kind of like, yep, I got it on the mantle, and then everyone kind of forgets about acknowledging their prowess in those types of areas because you've got other things to go for.
Yeah, but for me, like, I think out of all the players I just named, I think AD is like the only player out of that bunch that can get the clean sweep. Like, he can get an MVP, a Defensive Player in a year, and have a 50, 40, 90 season, and win the chip, all in the same year.
Yes, yeah.
It's not many players that can do that.
Yes, and given the fact that he is younger than LeBron, Whether or not he stays in LA at some, for the long haul is another story entirely. Once LeBron's gone, like AD's someone that I would like to see pair with someone else to really showcase himself as the A dog to win a championship, because there really wasn't. He really didn't have that B guy in New Orleans.
Yeah. And I think we'll definitely get to see that, because AD as like vet AD, like 30-year-old AD. You know what I'm saying? They compare him with a young guard. I mean, could you imagine like him and John Morant on the same team? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a seasoned AD and then
John Morant running around dropping 40.
Yeah, going into his prime. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be pure fireworks, but. That's pipe dream stuff for right now, but
oh yeah, that's well down the road, because I mean at that point that also assumes John Morant's going to leave Memphis, and I'm one that I'm kind of old school. I kind of like stars that old school stay with one team. That's why I like Dame Lillard so much, because he commits to Portland, and I mean who knows, in a few years he may be over that because he realizes he's not going to get a ring.
Yeah,
but of course certainly by all means Dame prove me wrong. I wish nothing but you to bring a championship to a city that hasn't ever tasted that and is looking up at the stars like a sad little puppy. But the so players like that stick it out with one team for their whole career. That's where it's at.
They hold a special place. And I fear like after Dame, I don't know if we're gonna have too many more of that. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's just trying to team up and get a microwave chip. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I mean that's just the times, right? Like,
I mean, at some point, hopefully the current prime stars kind of fade out a little bit, and we're left with this young group of players that hopefully have committed, and then they're like, okay, we're all close. Let's stick it out and build our teams up. And then the other thing is, we've got a salary cap we got a hard salary cap this year, because of the lost revenue last year. And if that continues, that's gonna make the competition in the league much more of a parity situation. So
exactly.
teams may not be as willing to go team up somewhere. One, because they all can't get paid, and two, because the management and coaching staffs have to get a little more creative as far as putting the pieces together, instead of just saying, okay, I'm just going to sell out and buy 3 superstars and we'll roll the dice on that, and the short term window get our rings, and then it'll all peace out. But it's okay because we got our chips. But in a certainly in a hard cap situation, if that were to continue, that makes it's like, okay, well, we can't rely on teaming up anymore, so let's actually focus on young players, good solid role players, paying everybody a salary that's actually reflects their skill level, as opposed to everybody just being mega millionaires.
Yeah, being maxed out just cause because we
Yeah,
have the money, we're just gonna max you out
just because we've got the salary cap that doesn't really hold anyone accountable.
Right. It's an imaginary number that we may or may not adhere to.
Yeah, exactly. like the United States national debt, just like that.
Those are my predictions. I mean, those are my predictions for this week.
Yeah, solid. Seeing how the next couple of weeks go, we may or may not have some more predictions, or we may fill our C block with other content, because we want to hear from you, boys and girls, hoopsheads alike. Twitter, Instagram, at hoopsboyspod, HOOPSBOYSPOD. Both social media channels. Shoot us some questions. Let us know when we start putting up content. Just submit questions. What do you think about the season? What do you think? What's going on in the league? It's whatever you want to talk about. We'll open the floor to you, and we'll kick it around and react to it. That's also goes along with to open up a mailbag segment in addition to social media, or if you're more living off the grid and don't live on the social channels, shoot us an email too. That's the same name as our social handles, Hoops Boys Pod, HOOPSBOYSPOD at gmail.com. Get in our mailbag, send us some questions, let us know what you think about the season, let us know who your team is, and we'll give a little what we think about your team on the season. We'll answer your questions and get a little back and forth going.
For surely. And once again, I go by Jet. This is my co-host, C. Proct, and we would like to thank you for kicking with us on our first pod, Hoops Boys Pod. Please tune in bi-weekly. Come kick it with us to talk everything hoops.
Be real, kiddos.
Don't be fake,
No,
kiddos.
None of that.
Step back
Later.
3.